it's Yvonne. We're back for another one of our wonderful interviews, and we have brought a really awesome guy that has such a wealth of experience and knowledge, and we wanted to share that with you guys. This is Howard Moon, and Gabby, let me just tell you how Gabby has met this fellow at one of the coffee shops here in the Central Florida area here. What was the name of the
Foxtail.
Foxtail. So he's a patron of Foxtail, and so is Gabby. I guess this is a place that people, I haven't been there yet, but I've got to go in and give it a try. And so
Yvonne, I go almost every day, and as my wife tells me, I will talk to anything, to anybody, excuse me. You're not a thing, Gabby. And Gabby was sitting there, and I'm always happy to talk to someone because that's why I go out to coffee in the morning. Not for coffee, but for company. And
Right.
we've struck up a conversation, like I have struck up conversations. As the ladies, the baristas there tell me, Howard, you know our regulars by first name better than we do.
that's probably true, because you want to. That's something
Yes.
you enjoy. And so Gabby came to me like, I don't know, several weeks ago, and she said, oh, Mom, I met the neatest guy, and she started telling me everything. I was like, oh, that's really awesome, you know. And then she kind of gave me a little bit about your history, and before long I was like, we should get him in for one of our YouTube videos. And she's like, well, yeah, maybe we should. So that's kind of how we ended up with Howard here. And Howard, like Gabby said, he retired. When did you retire, Howard? Officially. I know you're not retired completely, but officially you retired.
I had my
sometime.
own business in Ocala for
Okay.
many years. I retired in 2012 when I had a stroke
okay.
and a brain injury and was no longer able to work. I was paralyzed on one side. It
Oh,
took
wow.
about a year to come back 100%.
Yeah, you're doing
I'm
really
doing
well.
Yes.
Awesome. And that's not an easy feat. That takes a lot of dedication. I worked in healthcare for years, and that is a lot of dedication to come back from
That's due to not the physical therapist, although Susan was wonderful. It's the physical therapist assistant. And excuse my language, I called her the wicked bitch because I would say, I'm
Poor
ready. I want to leave. And she would go, you could do another 5 reps. Get back down there. So she's the reason.
She really encouraged you.
Yes, she encouraged.
She took,
yes.
and she took, no was not an answer for
It was
her.
not an answer, but I can walk. My arms work most days.
That's
So yes,
fantastic.
I thank her. She
Okay.
was Nancy. She was wonderful at what she did.
Awesome.
She was a hard taskmaster, but I'm a thick-headed guy, and that's what it takes to get through to me.
Yeah, and you know what? Some of them are really awesome at getting people to do it. But at the end of the day, somewhere inside, even though you were resistant, you did not want to stay in that condition.
Correct.
And I think that is a testament that, you know, people think this is as good as it gets. But the truth is, as we know today, the brain can reconnect. Even though it may have a damage, it can find another connection to get people moving. It just takes time. A lot of people give up before they get there.
I call that the good neighbor policy in your brain. I speak at brain injury conferences.
Oh, awesome.
I have a mental illness called pseudobular effect, PBA,
Okay.
which is a lot like bipolar, looks, acts, and smells like bipolar, but it's due to misconnections in your brain.
Okay.
And what the good neighbor policy is, that's what my neurologist called it, is there's a part of your brain that that tells your arm to go up and down.
Right.
It stops working because it's a dead spot.
Right.
Well, the part of your brain that makes your nose twitch doesn't do a whole lot of work. So it says, I can take over the job of making your arm go up.
Exactly.
And that's how he explained it in very, very, very simple layman's terms to me.
And I think
And it makes sense.
It is pretty simple. It's just rerouting
Yes.
the lines of how your brain is firing. And I've seen that myself working in healthcare years ago, and now I think they know a whole lot more about it. Like they use different techniques. I've seen some of that. It's really amazing.
Yes, it is.
And I experienced that with my niece. She was born with a birth defect, and literally it was a smooth brain area. So basically, it's like a stroke. That part of her brain doesn't work, but over the years they were able to reroute all of that. And you know, she has her issues, but she's pretty high functioning for her disability. Like people are pretty amazed on the things that she can do. And I think it was that determination with those professionals that really understood that, similar to what you, because she's a very stubborn young woman, and she fought them a lot, but you know, they never gave up, and my sister kept pushing, and so here you are. So that's fantastic. What a great story. I mean, I think that encourages people, because I know when you're in that situation, it's so detrimental to your mental health, because here you are, all of a sudden now you feel like you're just pretty much useless. Like, what am I can't even hardly feed myself. This is terrible. So that's a testament to your determination and to your therapist that could see that in you. I think they really do push people, especially when they think, you know what, there's something in there that guy, if I could just push him, he will start taking off. And it sounds like you were one of those folks. So that's amazing.
Thank you.
So when you came, you were in Ocala. What kind of business did you have over there?
I came down here in 1983, so
Okay.
we've been Floridians for a long time. Although, I was born in 1951, and my grandmother and grandfather were in Ocala back then. They ran a motel out near Silver Springs
Okay.
before they became transient by the night motels, back when they were actually tourist motels.
Right.
So my dad tells me I've been coming to Florida since I was 6 months old. I can
Wow.
remember coming down here in high school. I have seen Ocala change so much.
Oh, yeah.
I can remember going out to De Leon Springs Park
Yes.
in its heyday when we had the water skiing elephant. They had this elephant that would be on looked like a raft, a swinging raft, and they would tow it around the lake, and they called it the water skiing elephant.
Yeah.
If you go to the Mermaids today at Weeki Wachee,
Yes.
about this high up, there's a nose print in the glass. That's probably from me when I was a kid, because we used to go there so often, and I would squish my nose up against
You
the
wanted
glass.
to watch these people.
I wanted
Like,
to
this
get
is
in there
amazing.
with them. Come
It's
on, I was a
amazing.
kid.
Yeah, amazing, right?
But I've been coming to Florida for so long, and it's
wow.
I,
So
I
it's
love
like
Florida.
it's like a second home to you.
Yes, it is.
You know,
Yes, it
where are you originally from?
I'm from New Jersey.
Okay. All right.
I met my wife in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, going to college.
Okay.
We came down here from Milwaukee. And I came down in 1983. I was a writer for most of my life.
Oh
I
wow.
was writing for businesses, corporations.
Like technical writing?
Yes.
Okay.
And I wrote for the military, quite a bit of military.
Okay. All right.
And the fire truck company in Ocala, Emergency One, had sold something to the government and didn't get paid because they wouldn't provide the tech manuals.
Right.
And we opened a sales office for the place I work for. We opened a sales office in Clearwater. I made a call on Emergency One and told them we could provide those manuals. Here's the price. He calls me back the next day, Bob Wormser, when he was alive and still owned the company. And he said, how much would it cost for me to hire you and come in and give us our own in-house? So I went home to my wife. She says, oh, Florida, I'm not sure. And I said, they're gonna fly us down so you can look around. It's the end of March, beginning of April.
Okay.
I don't know how many of you from up north remember. That's brown snow time. You know, it's all starting to melt. The dirt in the air is turning to snow brown. We get to the Orlando airport and flowers are blooming, and my wife looks at me and says, you're taking the job.
We're staying. I can see
So
that.
we negotiated a salary. I lasted a couple years there. Then they sold out to Federal Signal, which is a large corporation. I was making more money than I should have been making, and they gave me a raise from Milwaukee,
Wow.
Chicago area. They went through the pay list and cut people. I was offered a job in Sarasota, Bradenton, Fairchild Weston, to do the same kind of thing. And my wife said, "Are you going to move every time? Are we going to move all the time?" And I said, "No, I can start my own business here." So we did. I
Oh,
started
awesome.
a tech writing business, but I had so few clients that I had to start a small computer business on the side. So most of my
Oh,
work,
okay.
all those years, was I had a small networking business for computers in Ocala.
Oh, awesome.
And it kept me going till 2012 when I had my stroke.
All right.
Then we decided to retire, and we came down a couple years later to Stonecrest.
Right. They were probably, that was pretty new back then. Stonecrest was pretty new development at that time, wasn't it?
Not really. Stonecrest has been around for many, many years. I used to do a lot of work down this direction. In fact, I
Okay.
did work for, we called him Old Man Swartz back then in the
Oh,
80s.
right. In the villages.
He was the nicest man there was. Paid his bills on time and threw one heck of a holiday party. Everybody loved him.
Who could complain about that?
But Stonecrest, it was there, and then you'd go by and it would have changed its name. It wasn't Stonecrest in the beginning. It must have changed its name a half dozen
Okay.
times. So it's been there forever,
It
for a
just
very
had a
long
hard
time.
time getting off the ground.
Correct. And
I
we've been there
gotcha.
about 8 or 9 years now. We love
Okay.
it. We love the lifestyle of Central Florida, and that's
Oh, yeah.
what we love. I love a golf cart community.
Yep, and it has a nice, in a country club, nice country club there.
We don't participate in a lot of things. I've done some stuff at their rec center and their crest club. I tried the yoga classes and some of the standing in place things, but I have a service dog, and what we like best is we walk.
Yeah, just,
I walk laps inside of Walmart because it's too
Okay.
hot to walk out there.
yeah.
I walk lap. I love BJ's. They get the temperatures so cold.
Oh, so
I
it's
walk
perfect,
around
perfect.
BJ's. I stay in shape. I do between 7,000 and 9,000 steps a day, which keeps me healthy because
Yeah,
the doctor told me that I'm still technically a hemiplegic. In other
Oh.
words, I will always be diagnosed as having half of my body paralyzed because any day I could wake up and it won't work.
oh,
But it has so far.
just keep it
And we
going.
love Stonecrest. We love I love the golf
Area
cart.
here,
I had a second stroke in 2019,
okay.
and if I turn my head like this, I can't see you out of the side of my eye
Okay, so,
because my peripheral vision was taken by that second
Okay.
stroke. Florida says you can drive with one eye.
yes, absolutely.
My wife says no. Who wins that argument? My
Yeah,
wife. So I don't drive a car,
okay,
but I'm allowed to drive my golf cart.
yeah.
Foxtails is within golf cart range.
Well,
BJ's.
now you can get a long ways in the golf cart because they keep building those little service roads behind or in front of all the plazas and stuff.
And not to get anybody in trouble, someone lost one of their key cars to get in the
Yep,
villages
yep.
and they have one of those. I don't know how villagers go over that bridge over the 441. It reminds me of riding on a small road in Ireland. There's only about 4 inches between the golf
Yes.
cart and the wall. And I think I'm back in Ireland go, oh.
Yeah,
so
yes.
I don't like going over that bridge.
Okay.
Anything I need, I get on this side of the road.
Okay.
And I'm happy.
Okay,
I can do what I want.
okay.
I have my
No.
coffee. I can go to lunch a couple places, so I'm happy.
And there's plenty of places to shop there
Yes.
around if you needed something and
And
hardware
anytime we
store.
drive, my wife takes us.
Okay, so that works out
So it
perfect.
works out
Yeah,
perfect.
I mean, that's one thing about this area. Even like over in Spruce Creek, I know they're not supposed to, but they cross 441 like bicycles.
No, there actually is a legal crossing there. I signed the petition.
Oh, is there?
We got
Okay.
a petition. There's
Because
a
that's
sign
about
up.
the only one, because most everywhere
Yes.
else you can't.
Yes, there's a sign there that says golf cart crossing. And that was done by the Stonecresters because we wanted them to come play in our golf course. And they wanted us
I
to
didn't
come
know
play in
that.
their golf
Oh,
course.
that's really nice.
Now they have a back entrance that will take you into that shopping plaza where McDonald's is.
Right.
You can get out the gate without a card, but you can't get back in.
Oh,
So if I want to go to that shopping plaza, I park my golf cart and we take a walk across the street. It's not that
okay,
bad.
okay. I think, I see, I just feel like eventually they're going to have some type of crossing. It just seems to be such a demand, and I really, I'm no public safety expert, but if you can cross 441 with a bicycle, I don't understand why you can't cross with a golf cart.
Or with a motorized wheelchair.
Right.
And-
Either one. I don't understand where actually I think the golf cart is much more visible than either one of those items, especially if you have your lights on. I mean, and it's got reflections all over. So I think eventually it may become that more, where it's much more accessible across 441.
And I think if it happens, the next one probably, and I'm only guessing, will be at the hospital. Because you realize there's a hospital on both sides of 441.
Yes.
So you're going from private property to private property. You're not riding on a public road.
Right.
Like if you were to cross with a light at Chase Bank up by Publix.
Right.
You go across and you're going onto a public street for a short while that is not a golf cart street.
Right. But just south of Publix because we go that way to First Watch in the golf cart, and we can't go on, what is that, Buenos Aires?
Yeah.
You have to go down to the next one, which is like, I can't think of the name of the street. It's got a Spanish name. Anyway, you have to go down there, which I don't know.
See, if you could cross by the hospital, then you go through the hospital's parking
And
lot,
you're
it
right
takes
there.
you to Publix, and I could go eat at First Watch, which is one of my favorite breakfast
Yeah,
places.
you could go all over there, So I just don't see it. I just don't see it staying
I don't
that way
even
for
know if
long.
it's illegal.
I
I
don't
asked the
think-
sheriff's deputy once, and what he told me was, he was told by his district commander, when you top that hill up by the church, as you come down toward the villages, just before you get to Stonecrest, if the golf cart's not acting dangerously, just ignore them.
Okay.
That doesn't mean you won't get a ticket. I'm not giving you permission to cross 441. I'm just saying, if I needed to get to the hospital and there
You'd
was
use
something
it.
wrong with the car, I would cross there in my golf cart and I wouldn't worry about it. If a cop stopped me, he could pull me over in front of the emergency room entrance where I
Right.
yelled to him.
I have not seen a police officer pull them over.
No, I haven't either.
I think it's just a safety thing. They're worried that, they're much more worried about the automobiles than they are the golf carts, I'm sure of that, because the people just aren't really paying attention. But if they have the right crosswalk there and things, I think it
And
would
you're
work out.
crossing on a green light.
Yeah.
Um,
So but that's really awesome. And so you picked Stonecrest. Why did you pick Stonecrest? What was it that you liked about it?
We looked at, we wore a realtor out. We looked at over 100 homes.
Wow.
We knew the area. We looked out at Top of the World.
Right?
Didn't like Top of the World because of some personal issues. I wanted to use a VA no down loan to buy my new house
All right.
until we sold our old house,
Okay.
because I didn't want to have a short-term borrow money to get a down payment.
Right.
Top of the World won't let you buy a home in their community unless you have 20% equity in it. How the heck can they get away with that?
Well, if it's new construction, I guess they can call the shots.
Well, no, these are existing homes.
Oh, existing homes?
Yes, and but you know what? We're glad. If we would have to argue with someone for us to be able to buy there, do I really want to be there?
Yeah.
They have even worse covenants than the villages. I
Oh,
understand.
definitely. Absolutely. They do.
Plus, I don't believe you own your land in Top of the World.
The older section is a 100-year lease.
We were looking at the new section.
The new sections, I believe, are all, you don't have the leases anymore. They got it away because what happened was the banks, after the 2008 crash, they really got really stringent on their rules, and a lot of financial institutions refused the lease. So now the newer sections of On Top of the World, all the newer sections are you own the land.
But to get
So
back
that
to
works out good.
why Stonecrest?
Yeah, why Stonecrest?
We looked at prices in the villages. We could get more house for our money in
Absolutely,
Stonecrest.
I understand that.
The other thing, when we came to look at the homes, my wife, after my stroke, my wife said, you may have another stroke, you may die. We don't need 4,000 square foot of home. We don't need a half an acre. You shouldn't be mowing the grass anymore. So we looked for a place with almost a zero lot line, where we would only pay $50 or $60 a month for lawn care, which is typical in Stonecrest.
Oh, good.
We looked at a home there. It was on a lake. I would never have paid the $15,000 extra for lakefront property to buy the lot, but the price was ideal.
You couldn't pass it up.
My wife is a bit of a negotiator.
Okay.
She looked online to see how often this house went up for sale, and it went up for sale every year for the last 3 years when
Oh,
the
wow.
people were down.
Okay.
So we made a lowball offer and they took it, and we got 1,500 square feet, a little bit more maybe, 3 bedrooms, 2-car garage, a covered lanai on the back that was
Nice.
screened in.
And I
And
know.
we have lakefront property, and the best
Nice.
part is it's on a cul-de-sac, so we
Oh.
don't have a lot of people
No
driving
traffic,
by
yeah.
all the time.
It's nice. Yeah, Stonecrest is a great community. I've sold homes in there. It really is a great community. So and I'm sure it's small enough. I mean, the Villages has grown into this big metropolitan.
Yes,
You know,
it
they
is.
don't call it a metropolitan area, but it is. I mean, it's got over 100,000
It has its advantages.
residences.
There are many clubs I would love to visit in Stonecrest. I have many friends, in the Villages, I have many friends there. But they can't even bring me as a guest
No,
because I live within 30 miles
yes,
or however
yes,
many
they
miles.
have some rules about that. It's a little bit touchy on how that works, but it's
But
their rules
It's
and
their
it is
rules,
what it
it's
is.
their home.
And when
they
you
can set
buy
the rules.
in here, you know this is the rules. So you
Yes.
kind of just have to go with it.
And-
And it's a great place, but the whole area, I think the Villages has created, you know, all these really nice communities around for those people that are not really into the Villages.
And they've brought all the stores here.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, I don't have to drive across town to get to Target. I don't have to drive
Right.
across town to get to my
It's right
favorite
there.
restaurant.
It's down the street.
Everything's right in a small area. Now we have to use our car for a lot of it, but
Right.
that's fine.
But it's not far.
No,
and it's
it's
pretty.
not-
It's relatively
it's not
easy
far.
to get in
So,
and out. So that's great.
We like the lifestyle,
Yeah,
although we
awesome.
don't participate in the lifestyle. We just like the laid back, take it easy.
Yeah.
Everything's paid for, so I don't have to worry about a mortgage.
So you just enjoying what you have, and
Our HOA fees are reasonable.
mhm.
The only problem I'm having right now is the chlorine in the pools gives me what looks like psoriasis. But they just put in a saltwater pool
That's
in there.
awesome.
So I'm going to try that one of
Yes.
these days.
I think all of the Villages pools have converted to salt now.
Have they?
Yes.
Well,
and
I
that
only
is
need the
and
one.
that is so
Is it
nice.
nice?
It is nice because I tend to get itchy if it gets like that. Maybe because of the chlorine, I'm having a reaction. So when I get in the pools now, it's no problem, which is very nice. I think you're gonna find that you're gonna enjoy it even more. So what is it that you do? Like, I know you have your technical writing, and I think Gabby had shared with me that you do some radio and now video type of
I started my career at a college
like podcasts or
as a radio announcer.
okay.
So I worked in the South. I worked in Bowling Green, Kentucky, just outside of Nashville. I was a disc jockey for country music. I worked in Roanoke, Virginia. I had
Oh wow.
worked
Okay.
at some radio stations up in New Jersey. Then I decided it wasn't for me. We didn't want to keep moving, so we went up to New Jersey. My dad had an apartment we could live in temporarily. And what did I do so that we didn't have to move around? I joined the military. Howard, we spent a year in Texas and we spent 4 years in Germany.
Oh wow.
They were the loveliest 4 years we ever
I
spent.
bet.
It was during the Vietnam era, but I never had to go to Vietnam. I was very lucky
Wow.
and thankful.
Right. But you
We
served.
enjoyed-
I mean, that's where they were bringing all the wounded soldiers back then to Germany as well.
Probably up in Frankfurt. I was
Okay.
just outside of Munich in a
Okay.
little town called Augsburg. I was in military intelligence.
Oh,
And I
okay.
liked what I did. I read reports all day and highlighted. I read intercepted traffic that had been translated and I circled things that looked out of place. And then I got sent off to an analyst. I wasn't an analyst. Somebody else would look at what I thought
Okay.
looked out of place and who knows
And
what they
make a
did with it.
decision based on whatever they thought.
I got to read things all day.
Oh.
But we loved Germany. We got there. I was an NCO, so I could take my car. We brought our car over. We bought a 16 or 18-foot travel trailer.
Oh.
It was a Sprite. I don't know if you've ever seen a Sprite. I wish they had them in the U.S. still. I could lift it up with one hand and move it around.
Oh wow.
We had a Pinto station wagon. And I bought at a J.C. Whitney.
You young folks need to look up a Pinto.
Small. I bought helper springs an extra radiator, an extra
you
radiator
were
for
ready.
the brake lines. So, and at the auto shop,
Well, I guess you needed to get all those mountains in Germany. It
Yes.
was probably quite a thing for the Pinto to pull the
well,
trailer.
we had to go over the Alps. We would go
Yeah.
to Italy every year for our 30-day vacation. And we
Oh,
would go
nice.
up the Alps. Then when we got on the other side, we would load up on food in Livorno, which was an Air Force base that had a commissary. We'd sit on the beach in Rimini on the Adriatic in a
Amazing.
campground for almost our entire month. We'd take a day trip up to Venice. We'd take a day trip
Oh,
into the mountains.
fantastic.
And we loved it.
You made the most of it.
Well, and on a sergeant's salary, that's one of the few places you could live, you could vacation comfortably and have a good time.
Oh, that's fantastic.
And the kids got exposed to it, but they were really young.
Oh, that's too bad, right? Because that sounds like an amazing time.
Yes.
It really
My
does.
wife and I like to travel. We
Okay.
have been to Korea a few times before the pandemic, and when we go, we went for 30 days each time.
Oh, wow.
We went
Okay.
to Japan, to Osaka, and we spent time there. We would go back, except right now Korea is really not open.
Yeah, I think a lot of Asia is still pretty closed with the whole pandemic thing.
Yes.
And that's unfortunate, but I figure eventually they're gonna have to do something because they do rely on a lot of tourism dollars, so they're gonna have to make a change.
I spend my days now writing poetry
Oh, wow.
and what I call flash fiction, stories that are 800 words, right around there. Very,
Wow.
very short stories. I have 4 books out on Amazon.
Nice.
I'm in a lot of magazines. I'm in 2 magazines this month. I average, for the last 6 months, I'm averaging 2 or 3 magazines a month that my poetry or my short stories are in. And I'm to the point where I have 2 more poetry books, but if I release my poems in a poetry book, I can't place them with a magazine.
Oh, right.
And if I put it on Amazon, maybe I'll sell 100 copies. So I've reached 100 people. If I put a poem in one of those online magazines,
Right.
they have subscribers of 3,000 or 4,000. So even if everybody doesn't read it, I'm still reaching 1,000 to 2,000 people.
That's awesome.
I'm a Native American
Oh, wow.
by
okay.
heritage. My grandfather was full-blooded, born on a reservation.
Oh, what,
He's Fox or
tribe?
Meskwaki.
Okay, and that's up in the Northeast, right?
Well, he came from Michigan area.
Oh, okay.
I write a lot of poetry about that, about my ancestors. I'm
Nice.
tied in with a lot of groups. I'm tied in with AIM, the American Indian Movement, which is sort of a radical Native movement. But
Okay.
you know what? Sometimes you have
They-
to be
they need
radical
to
to be
get-
heard.
You know, that's one group of folks that they need to get a little radical because I think in the scheme of things, they probably get overlooked the most. And they've probably been, no, they have been damaged
Yes.
the most.
And I can
the
go on
US.
for hours
And you know,
about that.
it is what it is. I know, for example, my own grandmother, when my mother was a young child in Southwest Florida, they were Tejanos, they're from Texas, Mexican Americans from Texas, generationally. But in those days, if your skin wasn't that
Correct.
color, they wanted to send your kids to the segregated black schools. And not that there was anything wrong with that per se, except there was no education going on there. That was the biggest thing. My grandmother was like, no, my kids need to read and
Yes.
write. They cannot. Because most of the young black people coming out of those schools could not read and write.
And that was
they're
a shame that it
it's
happened
disgusting.
to them or anybody.
completely disgusting. But you know, actually Juanita Osceola, which was the chief's wife, which was Corey Osceola's wife, they were also wanting to send all the Seminole kids
Yes.
to the same school. So this was in the early 50s, and my grandmother and Juanita Osceola decided to take on the school board.
Good.
And they won.
Where?
Naples, Florida, Collier County. And they won. The kids, my mother and her siblings did not go to that school, and neither did the sad thing is that it was only their families.
Ah,
So they gave, because they were the squeaky wheel, but a lot of other, ended up in those schools, and but thank goodness it didn't last long. Pretty soon everybody was having to integrate, so it changed a lot. But you know, people don't. I don't think people realize that
Yes.
that you know, even Native Americans, especially Native Americans, they were segregated way out of it too. Like, and sometimes they didn't even get to go to school at all.
The reservation. And if any of your listeners have Hulu and you want to know what life on the reservation is like, there is a series called Reservation Dogs on Hulu.
Wow.
And one of the producers is Sterling Harjo, who is related to our poet laureate, Joy Harjo. We've had a Native
awesome.
poet laureate for 3 terms now, and she claims it's not because I'm so good, it's because nobody wants to take over during COVID. Well, she's really that good. And
I bet
she may
she
not
is.
be, she may have just lost. But Reservation Dogs, I've watched it. It's a
I'm gonna have
wonderful
to check
program.
it out. I'm going to check it out.
It's about life on a reservation, no holes barred, from the view of teens, 14, 15, 16
Wow.
years old. What it's like, what their struggles are like.
Wow.
And you'll see a lot of familiar faces. A lot of Native actors are in there.
Wow. Like, I know for the Seminoles, the whole gambling thing has changed their entire life over there. It is absolutely amazing. I know people are probably not for the gambling thing or whatever, but the truth is like so many of those, the way they have it all structured,
Correct.
it is absolutely fantastic.
I think-
It does go across the entire tribe. It
They're-
does
they're-
not matter if you are the chief's
Correct.
child or you are just an average. You have a lot coming to you. They give education to the children. Every one of the children have education allotted to them from the proceeds of. So they are doing a wonderful thing, and it is, in my opinion, it's been really awesome for them.
And I'm always surprised when people say, well, you know, of course the Seminoles can have gambling because they're an independent, they're a sovereign nation,
Right.
which is crap. They're not a sovereign nation. You realize the governor has to approve every new casino.
Right, exactly.
Well, if they're a sovereign nation,
They don't
why
need a
does the
governor,
governor?
right?
Yes. It's
But now, you know, I think more and more people are realizing how that's all going and how they actually are really benefiting everyone in that community. And so I hope, I don't know about other areas because I'm not really in those places. I don't know if the Cherokees are doing it. I don't know if all the, you know, Western, I know they have a lot of casinos and stuff, but I'm not sure how they've structured their proceeds and profits. But,
Cherokees are doing pretty much the same.
oh, that's awesome.
Oklahoma, they were splitting the oil leases, but now the oil companies are figuring a way to get the money themselves instead of having to give the profits to the natives. Same with the Aleutians up in Alaska. You know, that was supposed to be if you were an Aleut or an
They were supposed to be
Aleutian,
getting some kind of
percentage, and it's
mineral rights of some kind.
and they're still getting it, but they're not getting what they feel they
what
should.
they should be getting.
So
And that may or may not be true. We can't.
fishing's another thing. I mean, they have fished for salmon on the rivers of Washington, Oregon, and Idaho for years. It's not the natives who fished it so that to the point of extinction.
Right.
It's the white commercial
Corporations.
fishermen. And guess who
Corporations, of
they're
course.
taking the fishing rights away from? The natives up there.
Wow.
Same with
Yeah.
Alaska. The,
I have
the
to say,
Aleutian
Florida
Islands.
has done a good job. Here in Florida, Seminoles can do pretty much any hunting and fishing that they want to do.
Well, Chief Billy, remember when he killed the panther and the
That was, oh
Natural
yes, I
Resources
absolutely
arrested
remember
him?
because I was down there. That was a huge story.
Yes.
And so that kind of really set the precedence here in Florida. But I as far as I know, they don't limit them.
No, they don't. And one of the reasons that is like the Cherokee, the Seminoles were smart. They had their people educated.
Yes, very.
They have good lobbyists and they have good lawyers.
And most of their lawyers are Native Americans.
Of course.
They sent them all to law school. They know what to do.
Well, one of the biggest native tragedies, other than having wiped us off the face of the planet almost,
Right, right.
made us take the long walk, was the Cherokees in North Carolina. One of the presidents, I believe it was President Zachary Taylor, I'm not 1,000% sure, said, I want to take some of their native land and give it to my white friends as hunting lodges. Cherokees went to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court said, no, you can't do that. And the president said, I have an army, the Supreme Court doesn't. So he sent the army in to move the Cherokee out, and he took the land.
Yeah,
Because you
Yes.
can't, without an army, you can't enforce.
right. It's really, and so that's great that you're doing those.
And I read a lot of native poetry. I
That's
read other
awesome.
poetry as well.
Awesome.
I love poetry. I love to write short stories.
And so I know you said you were doing some Zoom. What is it that you do with that? Like,
I'm a Toastmaster.
okay.
So I Zoom to Toastmaster meetings. I used to belong to clubs in California, and I used to visit a club in Korea and in Japan. Right now I'm part of a club in Australia that has
Okay.
members from 5 continents. They have nobody from Antarctica,
Okay.
but most of the other continents are
Are covered? Okay.
I also Zoomed to a club up in Virginia that
And what
I
is
enjoy.
it that the club does actually?
Toastmasters is you go and you speak. It's to improve your speaking skills.
Oh, okay.
I do it for the camaraderie, the friendship online,
Okay. So they're
and
doing
to
all
fight
this like,
boredom.
oh, hey, but wow, it's amazing. And so you just pick your topics, everybody, or they give everybody
We
a
have
topic?
we have books, and you have to work with the books. But the books,
Okay.
the topics that the books give you, as you work your way through the book, are very open. Give a speech that inspires. Give
Oh,
a
so
speech
you
with a
do have a
humor
lot
and
to-
an
a lot.
anecdote.
You have
So
a
you
lot
have
to
all
say.
kinds of leeway. You can do whatever you like. Tell
Oh,
a story,
awesome.
and I'm a storyteller. I
Yeah.
love telling stories, as Gabby will attest to. I
Yes.
love telling stories.
And you know, I come from a family of storytellers. So
Well,
and,
natives are good
and
storytellers.
Gabby is was privy to that. My mother was a very big storyteller, and she would tell her all kinds of stories. And one point in time, and then Gabby would put them to paper, and she would write these little stories about my mother's stories. So we come from that kind of background. My grandmother was a huge storyteller. Half the stuff, I don't know, she was had a lot of comedy in what she would tell. So the stories were always very interesting, and us kids were always very attached to the stories. So we enjoyed that a lot. Now, do you do anything now? I know you're retired per se. Do you do anything outside of retirement? Like, do you do any kind of?
I am an operator because I have a mental illness.
Okay.
I took the classes. I'm a certified peer recovery specialist for the state of Florida.
Oh.
4 nights a week, I answer calls on the state's warm line. It's not a suicide hotline, we're a warm
Okay.
line. People
Okay.
who aren't suicidal, we get a lot of our referrals from the suicide line. Someone will call the suicide line and say, I'm feeling suicidal. You're not really suicidal unless you have the gun in your hand, according to the suicide hotline. So they send them to us, and we talk to them. I
Okay, so you
answer-
guys do a lot of
De-escalation.
De-escalation a
But
lot.
mostly
because
we listen.
Okay.
And that's hard for
But
people to
sometimes
understand.
that's a lot.
That Howard
That's
can
a
sit
lot.
and listen for that long, because as you know, I love to talk. But I do that 4 nights a week because
Wonderful.
I can give back. Plus, it's my therapy. It helps me to keep my mental health stable.
Awesome.
Before I retired, I was the chairman of the Marion County's Mental Wellness Coalition,
Oh, fantastic.
and I used to speak before the pandemic. I used to speak every year at least 1, maybe 2 conferences for either people with disabilities or people with mental health issues.
Oh, wow.
I went back to the conference this year in June. I didn't speak because I didn't know if I was really going to go. And if I promised to speak and then didn't show up, they have to scramble. Well, I had a booth instead where I sold my books and just talked to people.
So you sell your books, your poetry books and all of that. That's
And-
nice.
And we're going to post a
Yeah,
link to my.
I'll post it on
Yes,
up there.
absolutely.
And one of my books, 2 of my books are not poetry. One is a collection of short stories that are based on native folklore.
Oh,
Where-
beautiful. I would love to
Why
see
the
that.
opossum has no fur on its tail. And I take what was a traditional story and I give it a Howard Moon flavor.
Okay.
Then the other book of short stories is my favorite one. I wrote it for my grandkids. They were my technical advisors. It's a collection of short stories about zombies. But
Oh my
these are
gosh.
not normal zombies. This is the zombie who was lonely. This is the zombie who went into hospital when the building was burning down and rescued the babies from the maternity wing.
Oh
These
my
are
gosh, what a twist
weird,
that is.
Weird zombie stories.
That's a twist on the zombie thing, right? Because, you know, right now people are talking about the zombie apocalypse. Have you heard this recently?
Oh, yes.
So now they're saying, you know, we may have a zombie apocalypse sometime next week. There's like this doomsday thing. I don't know. It's some crazy thing that's going on. And I thought, okay, well, they asked these people, so what exactly does that look like? Well, we don't really know. Because, you know, zombies are one of those mythological urban things that, you know, have
And they're not real. And I would ask my grandkids, can zombies do this? And they'll go, Pop, zombies aren't real. You can have them do anything you want.
That's true.
Now these grandkids.
Now they become superheroes. I love it.
Now my grandkids are, you know, two of them are in Orlando going to college. One just
Nice.
graduated. My one grandson's
alumni.
the head of the IT department over at Central
UCF.
Florida Community College.
Okay.
And the other granddaughter is getting ready to go to UCF next year when she graduates. And then my daughter had her baby late. I have a 9 or 10-year-old granddaughter up in Atlanta.
Okay.
So she's in
got-
grade school.
oh,
But
nice.
It's a good mix, and they come down and visit us. We visit them. But,
Awesome.
you know, we have a good time. I enjoy life. I do
That's
not sit on my
fantastic.
butt and do nothing. I couldn't.
Right.
I've started drawing
Well,
recently.
after everything that you've been through, you have time to do that. Like, you have worked too hard to get up and moving to let it just sit there. I mean, that's what I tell my sister all the time. When we moved to the Villages, my husband and I decided to move there. They're like, you moved to the Village? I'm like, yeah. You know what? The Villages and this entire area, not just the Villages, Stone Creek, Spruce Creek. I meet these people, Del Webb, all over the place. They are not waiting for the Grim Reaper. They are busy. They
This is an
are
active
doing
community.
so many things. Like, they have the best charity things they do. Like, they're always like you with this mental health interventions, and they're always doing something. And it's just a really wonderful place to live. This entire area, I am so blessed to be here.
I have many friends in the Villages, and they are all so darn active. One of them teaches at, what is it, the Villages University, or whatever it's
learning
called. Yeah,
something.
She teaches there.
Yeah.
I have a couple who are in the theater group here.
Yes.
They're always in plays.
They
will
never
stay.
stop.
No, and not all of them play golf.
No.
There's so much other to do.
Oh yeah, it's not all about golf. I don't play golf. My husband does, but I don't. I feel like I need to try it, so I'm going to give it a try. I'm not sure it's something for me. I'm in a lot of the social groups. I enjoy that. I have a meeting tonight, Working Women's group, and I really enjoy those things. So it's a great place. I love to work. You know, I like being productive. So, and it sounds like that's you too. You like to be productive. You're not going to just sit around and watch TV all day, which I think, you know, for anybody listening, it is the way to age.
Yes, it is.
It is the way to age. And you don't even feel like aging.
If you're bored in Central Florida, I don't care where you retire.
Right, it
if
doesn't
you're
matter.
bored in Central Florida, it's your own fault.
It's true. You have decided to sit in front of the television.
Yeah.
So
And I'll tell you what, the television. Bleh.
I know, right? There's not really too much good there. It's just kind of, I call it white noise.
And the only good stuff is stuff I watched when I was a kid.
Yeah, a lot of people do that. Well, we are come to the end of our time with Howard, and I just want to thank you so much, Howard, for sharing
Thank you.
your beautiful story, and I know everybody's going to love it. Gabby's going to go ahead and put your information about your books, and I'm going to the Indian, the Native American folklore. I'm really excited. Hopefully I can get that. Can you get that online on the Kindle?
On Amazon.
Can you get it on Kindle?
Yes,
or
everything
that?
on Amazon you can get on Kindle
Okay,
or
perfect.
paperback.
I'm really excited to take a look at that because I love that kind of stuff. So you guys do that too, and we will be back next week with another great interview with another lady here that's in the Working Women's group with me, and she is going to share her story, and I know you guys are going to love that too. So thanks again, Howard. It's
Thank
been
you.
a pleasure meeting you and talking with you today. All right, see y'all later. Have a great day.